Humans were warned not to respond to the signal, but they did. Sci-fi, the year was 2157, and Earth had reached a new age of exploration. Humanity had spread its reach far beyond the moon, sending probes and ships to explore the outer planets and the edges of the solar system. Deep space observation stations were scattered across the Earth and in orbit, watching the void for any sign of life beyond their own. Dr. Alan Porter sat in one of the largest monitoring stations in Arizona, eyes fixed on a bank of screens that showed streams of data from probes near the Kuiper Belt. He was a quiet man, thoughtful and methodical, someone who spent more time with machines than with people. For weeks, the station had recorded strange readings, subtle anomalies in the electromagnetic waves far beyond Pluto. At first, no one had paid them much attention, thinking it was just natural space noise. But Alan noticed a pattern. It was faint, almost like a rhythm hidden in the static. He adjusted the filters and enhanced the signals, and suddenly the pattern became clear. It was not random. It was too precise to be natural. The sequences repeated in a way that suggested intelligence. Alan called Dr. Apicas, Hannah Blake, his colleague and close friend, to review the data. Hannah was sharp and quick-minded, with a knack for understanding communication systems. She leaned over the console, scanning the incoming signal. "Alan," she said, her voice low, "this is structured. It's like someone or something is sending a message, and it's big, really big." Alan nodded.
Yes, but we don't know what it says.
Or, if it's even meant for us, it could be a warning. They spent hours analyzing the signals, breaking them down into patterns of prime numbers and sequences that mirrored the basic laws of physics. It seemed to Alan and Hannah that the signal was designed to communicate using universal concepts, something any intelligent species could understand. Excitement and fear filled the room. For decades, humans had hoped to find signs of life beyond Earth, and now the hope was real. But fear whispered at the edges of their minds. The news soon reached the United Earth Command, and a meeting was called with scientists, diplomats, and military officials from around the globe. Captain Lisa Grant, commander of Earth's Deep Space Response Unit, was present. She was calm and determined, a woman who had spent years navigating the political and technical challenges of space missions. She listened carefully as Alan and Hannah presented their findings. "This signal," Alan explained, "is intelligent. It's deliberate. It could be a message, an invitation, or a trap. We cannot be certain of its intent." One of the officials, a tall man named Daniel Price, frowned. "Are you saying it's dangerous?" "Possibly," Alan replied. "We cannot know until we respond, or choose not to. If it is a warning, responding could provoke it. But if it is a friendly signal, ignoring it may waste an opportunity for first contact." Some argued that humanity should remain cautious. Others, like Captain Grant, believed that curiosity was part of what made humans strong. If humans could not face the unknown, they would never grow. Eventually, a decision was made. A small team of experts would create a response using the basic mathematics and physics contained in the signal as a bridge. The message would be simple, direct, and careful. It would show intelligence without aggression and hope without recklessness. Alan, Hannah, engineer Ethan Ross, and communications specialist Carla Diaz were chosen for the task force. Ethan was young, energetic, and brilliant with mechanical systems. He had spent years designing probes and signal transmitters. Carla was meticulous, understanding the complexities of interstellar communication and encryption. Together, they began to work day and night. They crafted a series of sequences that mirrored the original signal, building on prime numbers, basic geometric shapes, and universal constants. They included a simple pattern that represented Earth's position in the solar system and basic information about human biology and mathematics. Every choice was deliberate. Every symbol had meaning. The work was exhausting but thrilling. Alan often stayed at the station late into the night, staring at the blinking lights of the control panels. He thought about what lay out there, in the darkness beyond Pluto. The signal was not just a mystery, it was a doorway. And behind that doorway, there could be intelligence far beyond anything humans had ever imagined. Finally, the message was ready. It was loaded onto a powerful transmitter designed to send signals across light years. The moment had come. Alan, Hannah, Ethan, and Carla gathered in the control room, holding their breaths. Captain Grant entered quietly. She did not speak. She simply nodded, giving them the courage to proceed. Alan pressed the final sequence. The transmitter hummed and sent a pulse into the void, a ripple moving faster than anyone could see. The signal carried humanity's first deliberate greeting to the stars. For a moment the room was silent, as if the universe itself were listening. They waited, knowing that any response would take years to return. But even as they tried to imagine the consequences, none of them could ignore the thrill of discovery. They had taken a step that no human had taken before. They had reached out into the unknown, and the unknown had noticed. Days turned into weeks. The world watched and waited, but nothing came. Many celebrated the courage of the scientists, while others warned that this could be the calm before a storm. Alan felt a weight on his chest. He knew that intelligence this far from Earth was likely far more advanced than humans. They were alone in space, untested, and small in comparison. Then, one night, the monitors began to flicker. A faint signal appeared, returning to them through the vast distances of space. It was not random, and it was not immediate, but it was there. Carla analyzed it, her fingers flying over the controls. "It's a response," she said, voice shaking slightly. "There, replying." Alan stared at the screen, heart racing. Hannah leaned closer, trying to decipher the patterns. "This is incredible," she whispered. "They're intelligent. They understand our message." The world erupted when news spread. Humanity had made contact, yet alongside the excitement, a shadow of caution grew. There were warnings both from scientists who understood the signal and from older messages in humanity's own history about the dangers of curiosity without preparation. The unknown was vast and they were stepping into it without a net. Captain Grant called another meeting. "We must prepare," she said, her voice steady. "We cannot know their intentions, and we cannot wait for them to decide what to do next. We must be ready for anything." The task force worked tirelessly. The alien response contained symbols that suggested intelligence far beyond human understanding, patterns in multiple dimensions, and sequences that hinted at technologies humans could not yet imagine. Alan and Hannah tried to map the symbols to familiar concepts, but the work was slow and frustrating. Every breakthrough led to more questions than answers. Meanwhile, the media and public opinion were in a frenzy. Some hailed the contact as the dawn of a new era. Others feared that humanity had just called attention to itself in a universe that might not welcome newcomers. Conspiracy theories flourished, and governments debated whether they had been reckless. Despite the warnings and the tension, Alan could not stop thinking about the signal. Late one night, he wandered to the observation deck of the station, looking out at the black expanse dotted with distant stars. Somewhere out there, the source of the signal waited. Somewhere out there, intelligence watched and considered humanity's actions. He shivered at the thought. They had sent a message, and now the universe knew that humans existed. There was no turning back. Whatever came next, humanity had stepped into the game. And in the vast cold of space, there was no guarantee that curiosity would be rewarded, or that survival was assured. Weeks passed, and the signal continued to return in strange, repeating patterns. It was as if the aliens were observing, testing, or even playing with them. Alan and Hannah realized that understanding this intelligence would require more than mathematics. It would require courage, imagination, and a willingness to face danger beyond anything humans had known. Captain Grant convened the team again. "We have made contact," she said simply, "and now we must decide how far we are willing to go. They are not giving us answers yet. They are watching. And what we do next could change everything." Alan looked around at his team. Ethan tapped his fingers nervously on the console. Carla studied the signals with an intensity that bordered on obsession, and Hannah's eyes reflected a mixture of fear and excitement. Each of them understood the stakes. They had reached out into the cosmos, and now the cosmos had responded. For the first time, humanity truly felt small and vast at the same time. Small in the face of a universe that stretched endlessly in all directions, and vast in their daring to reach beyond their own world. The signal had been a call, a challenge, and a warning, and they had chosen to answer. Alan returned to his station and stared at the patterns on the screen. The symbols shifted in ways he could not fully comprehend. But one thought stayed with him. Humans had been warned. The universe had whispered a caution across light years. And yet, they had chosen to respond. And so, humanity waited. The unknown had taken notice, and the first steps had been taken. The stars above no longer seemed like silent watchers. Now they were eyes, alert and observant. And whatever came next would not just be a test of technology, it would be a test of what it meant to be human. 3 months passed after humanity sent its first message into the depths of space. The world had waited, watched, and wondered. Scientists analyzed every fluctuation in the signal, while governments debated what it could mean. Fear and excitement were both strong. People speculated endlessly. Some said humanity had just made its greatest discovery. Others warned that they had called attention to something dangerous, something beyond imagination. Then it appeared. At the edge of the solar system, far beyond Neptune, a massive object slowly moved into view. It was unlike any ship humans had ever seen. Its shape was strange and organic, like a living structure rather than a machine. Dark metal or some unknown material covered its surface, but light pulsed across it as if it had a heartbeat. The United Earth Command quickly assembled a response. Captain Lisa Grant was assigned to command the starship Horizon, a vessel built for exploration and first contact. Among her crew were Lieutenant Aaron White, a skilled pilot known for daring maneuvers; Maya Collins, an expert in navigation and survival in deep space; Samuel Turner, a brilliant engineer who could fix almost anything in moments; and Dr. Alan Porter and Dr. Hannah Blake, who were brought aboard to study the alien presence and maintain communication. The Horizon left Earth quietly, slipping through the asteroid belt and beyond the orbit of Saturn. The crew could see the alien vessel growing larger on their sensors, a dark shadow against the distant stars. Excitement mingled with tension. Every movement was watched carefully. The unknown was immense, and they had only a few clues about what awaited them. As they approached, a smaller craft detached from a larger alien vessel. It glided toward the horizon without sound, controlled by intelligence far beyond human understanding. The crew held their breath. Samuel monitored the ship's energy readings while Maya carefully maneuvered the horizon to keep a safe distance. A screen flickered to life and symbols appeared. They were similar to the ones sent back to humanity, but far more complex. Hannah tried to decipher them. "It's a language," she said slowly. "Not words as we know them, but a system of thought. It's deliberate." Alan nodded. "They understand our message, but we don't know what they want. We must be careful. This could be friendly, or it could be a trap." Suddenly, the symbols shifted, forming sequences that could be translated through the interface Hannah had developed. A voice-like pattern emerged, speaking in mathematical sequences that the computer could convert into basic concepts. The aliens identified themselves as the Thrin, an ancient species that viewed the universe as a place with strict rules. They said any unsolicited response to signals in deep space is a serious offense. Hannah explained to the crew. "They consider our message a violation. They are angry." Captain Grant clenched her hands. "Angry? How angry?" "They have activated defensive measures," Alan said. "Sensors indicate energy fields forming around their vessel. They can block or destroy anything approaching without warning." The crew exchanged worried glances. The stakes were higher than they had imagined. Humanity had not just reached out, they had provoked a species far stronger than themselves. Back on Earth, news of the Thrin's reaction caused panic. Governments debated evacuation plans and defensive strategies. Some citizens demanded immediate withdrawal of the signal. Others argued that humans should stand firm. Public opinion was divided, fear mingling with curiosity. Captain Grant made her decision. Retreat was not an option. Humanity had called attention to itself, and now they needed to learn, adapt, and respond. She gathered her team in the control room. "We will not strike first," she said firmly, "but we will not run. We have the chance to show that humans are resilient, intelligent, and worthy of recognition. We must communicate, but we must also be prepared to defend ourselves." Samuel Turner began analyzing the Thrin vessel's energy fields. "They are advanced," he said, "but every system has a weakness. I think we can find a way to navigate safely." Maya Collins practiced maneuvers, simulating approaches and evasions. Aaron White ran drills for high-risk situations, preparing the crew for sudden attacks. Hannah and Alan worked tirelessly on deciphering the Thrin's symbols, trying to find a pattern that could indicate peaceful intentions. As the horizon drifted closer, the Thrin deployed smaller drones around their ship. The drones moved quickly, scanning and analyzing the horizon with precision. Their movements were coordinated, almost like a single organism controlling multiple parts. The crew held their positions, careful not to provoke an attack. The first contact was tense. The Thrin's communication was direct and formal. "You have interfered with what you do not understand," the translation device rendered their message. "You have sent a message when warned not to. Retract or face consequence." Humanity had been warned, and they had ignored it. But retreat was not an option now. "We cannot retract," he said. "We can only respond. We mean no harm, and we wish to understand." The Thrin's sensors pulsed. The drones adjusted their positions. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one of the drones made a slow movement toward the horizon, stopping just short. It was a test, a probe. Humanity realized that they were being assessed. Captain Grant's voice was steady. "Ah, we will cooperate. We want peace. But we will not abandon our mission to learn and explore. If we are attacked, we will defend ourselves. But we do not seek conflict." The Thrin's response was deliberate. They sent more symbols, patterns that indicated observation and judgment. The crew studied them for hours, translating where possible, making sense of sequences that sometimes repeated like music or shifted like a complex puzzle. The intelligence behind the symbols was immense. They were not dealing with simple creatures. They were dealing with an ancient civilization that thought in ways humans could barely imagine. Over the next few days, the horizon moved carefully around the Thryn vessel. The crew discovered that the Thryn's energy shields were immense, but not perfect. Samuel began testing the outer layers, sending minor signals to detect weaknesses. He explained to Captain Grant that their unpredictability was humanity's advantage. The Thryn expected responses based on logic and strict rules. Humans, by nature, could improvise. Hannah noticed patterns in the Thryn signals that suggested curiosity mixed with caution. The aliens were testing humanity, trying to understand their intentions. It became clear that communication would not be simple. They had to show intelligence, restraint, and courage, all at once. Meanwhile, on Earth, discussions continued. News outlets debated whether humans had made a mistake. Could a single message trigger an interstellar conflict? Could the Thryn destroy Earth before humanity had a chance to defend itself? Fear grew, but so did determination. Humanity had reached beyond its world, and it would not turn back. The Horizon crew grew closer as they worked. Aaron and Maya joked to relieve tension, laughing softly in the control room late at night. Samuel and Hannah exchanged ideas constantly, trying to solve puzzles that sometimes seemed impossible. Alan watched them, feeling a strange pride. These people were humanity's best hope, and together they faced the unknown with courage. One evening, as the horizon drifted near the Thryn vessel, a signal appeared on the communication screens that was different from all others. It was slower, deliberate, and seemed almost like a warning. Hannah translated it as best as she could. "You are observed. You are not yet judged. Any further actions will be noted. You may proceed, but do not provoke. They are watching, but they are not attacking yet. This is our chance to learn and understand. Proceed carefully and we may survive." The crew continued their cautious observation. They mapped the Thryn vessel, recorded energy patterns, and studied drone movements. They learned that while the Thryn were powerful, they were not infallible. There were blind spots, timing gaps, and predictable sequences. The horizon could navigate around them if careful. Alan reflected on the irony. Humanity had been warned, and yet they had chosen to respond. It was a dangerous gamble, and they were paying attention to every detail to survive. He understood now that this encounter was not just about communication. It was a test. The universe was vast and humans were small, but they were clever, curious, and persistent. That might be enough. As the days passed, tension remained high. The Thryn had not attacked, but their presence was a constant reminder that humanity was being judged. Every move mattered. Every signal mattered. And the crew of the Horizon knew that one mistake could mean the end of everything they had worked for. Despite the danger, there was hope. Humanity had sent a message, and the Thryn had responded. They were being observed, yes, but also acknowledged. Contact had been made, and the potential for understanding existed. The key was patience, careful observation, and the willingness to act when the moment was right. Captain Grant gathered the crew one evening. "We are on the edge of something extraordinary," she said. "We cannot know what comes next, but we can show that humans are not weak. We are intelligent, adaptable, and courageous. We may be small in the universe, but we are strong in ways they may not expect." Alan felt the weight of her words. Humanity had reached out, ignored warnings, and now faced an alien intelligence far beyond comprehension. But they were not helpless. They had ingenuity, courage, and each other. And sometimes That was enough to survive the unknown. The horizon continued its vigil, drifting silently near the Thryn vessel, observing, learning, and waiting. The signal from the aliens came and went in strange patterns, sometimes hostile in tone, sometimes neutral, sometimes curious. Humanity was being tested, and the crew knew it. They had crossed a threshold, and there was no going back. Every night, Alan gazed at the distant stars, wondering what other eyes might be watching them from the darkness. Humanity had been warned, yet they had responded. The universe had taken notice, and the test had begun. And in the endless black beyond Pluto, the Thryn continued to watch, waiting to see whether humans were clever enough, brave enough, or foolish enough to survive. The horizon was a small speck of humanity against the massive Thryn vessel, but within it, determination burned. Curiosity and courage had carried them this far, and it would carry them further. Humans had been warned, they had acted, and now the next chapter was unfolding. One of danger, discovery, and a chance to prove that humanity could endure in the vast, cold universe. The days that followed were tense. The horizon remained close to the Thryn vessel, moving carefully to avoid their energy fields while observing every signal, every movement. The crew learned that the Thryn were not merely aggressive, they were calculating. Their drones were fast, precise, and coordinated, moving in ways that seemed impossible to predict, yet the humans refused to retreat. They had been warned, yes, but now the choice was clear. Learn, adapt, and survive. Captain Lisa Grant called a meeting in the Horizon's control room. The lights were dim and the hum of the ship's engines filled the space. "We have observed their patterns," she said. "They are strong, yes, but not perfect. Every system has a weakness, and if we are careful, we can turn unpredictability into an advantage. This is our chance to show that humans are clever and resilient." Samuel Turner, the ship's engineer, nodded. "Their shields and energy grids are strong, but they follow strict timing cycles. If we can detect the intervals, we can find openings. I have some ideas for modifying our systems to exploit them." Aaron White, the pilot, leaned back in his chair. "And when we get our chance, we need to be fast and unpredictable. They may think they know us, but humans are not machines. We can improvise." Maya Collins added, "We also need to protect the ship. Their drones could destroy us in seconds if we make a mistake." Alan Porter and Hannah Blake worked tirelessly on the communication front. They were trying to decipher the Thryn signals to find any signs of intention beyond hostility. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The aliens were testing them, not just for threat, but for intelligence. Every response they sent, every maneuver they observed, was being analyzed. Humanity had been challenged, and now they had to show that they could think, adapt, and survive. The first opportunity came sooner than expected. One of the Thryn drones moved closer than usual, testing the horizon's defenses. Alan noticed that its energy pulses followed a predictable rhythm, and he alerted Samuel. Samuel quickly adjusted the horizon's shields to exploit a small gap in the drone's scanning sequence. The drone hesitated, then moved back slightly as if surprised. "This is it," Captain Grant said, her voice firm. "We move next time they make a mistake." They waited for hours. The crew grew tense, their eyes glued to the sensors. Every small movement of the Thryn drones caused a ripple of adrenaline. They had to be patient. One wrong move could mean destruction. Then it happened. A drone approached again, repeating the same pattern. Samuel triggered the modified shields, which caused interference in the drone's sensors. Aaron skillfully maneuvered the horizon, darting close to the Thryn vessel while avoiding energy pulses. Maya calculated a precise path, using gravitational slingshots around a nearby moon, giving the horizon a sudden speed boost that the Thryn could not immediately predict. Alan and Hannah monitored communications. "They're confused," Hannah said. "Our movements aren't following the patterns they expect." The small victory gave the crew hope. Humanity had learned that even an advanced species could be outmaneuvered with intelligence and creativity. They continued to experiment carefully, learning the rhythms of the Thrin drones, studying their energy pulses, and finding more gaps to exploit. But the Thrin were not easily defeated. They adapted quickly, sending more drones and adjusting their shields. The Horizon crew realized that survival would require constant innovation. Samuel and Ethan worked on new devices to jam the drones temporarily, while Hannah refined the communication system to send signals that could confuse the Thrin without appearing threatening. One evening, as the Horizon drifted near the Thrin vessel, Alan noticed something unusual in the signal patterns. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a sequence. "It's a weak point in their network. A small gap in the pulse pattern. If we exploit it, we might disable a few drones temporarily." Captain Grant nodded. "And we act, but carefully. One step at a time." Aaron prepared the ship, running simulations over and over. Maya checked the navigation systems, ensuring the Horizon could move precisely through the gaps. Samuel activated the new interference devices. The crew waited for the exact moment. When the opportunity came, it was quick and precise. The Horizon moved through the calculated path, the interference devices disrupting the Thrin drone's coordination. A small number of drones stopped responding for a few seconds, giving the Horizon enough space to maneuver close to the Thrin vessel. Alan and Hannah sent a calculated signal designed to show intelligence and intent, not aggression, while still exploiting the weak points they had found. For a moment, silence filled the ship. Then the Thrin drones slowly resumed movement. They had noticed the interference, adjusted their patterns, but something had changed. The aliens were observing humans more carefully, perhaps realizing that humans were clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. Captain Grant spoke quietly to the crew. "They are learning about us, and we are learning about them. This is the beginning. We cannot win by brute force, but we can survive with intelligence and courage." The next few days were a mix of observation, experimentation, and careful maneuvers. The Horizon crew pushed their limits, constantly finding new ways to exploit patterns in the Thrin defenses while maintaining communication signals that suggested peaceful intent. They realized that every move mattered. Every signal could be interpreted as either threat or curiosity. Alan and Hannah discovered more patterns in the alien communications. Some sequences indicated caution, but others suggested curiosity. The Thrin were studying humanity, not just to punish them, but to understand them. This was their chance. If they could prove that humans were intelligent, adaptable, and capable of thought beyond instinct, they might survive and even gain respect. On Earth, tension remained high. Governments prepared defenses in case the situation escalated. But the public also watched with fascination, inspired by the courage of the Horizon crew. Stories of human ingenuity, quick thinking, and daring maneuvers spread across the media. People felt pride and hope, even in the face of an unknown and powerful alien species. Back on the Horizon, the crew continued to refine their strategies. Samuel developed a system to jam multiple drones at once, while Alan and Hannah sent calculated signals to test the Thrin's reactions. Aaron practiced daring maneuvers, weaving through the drones in simulations, while Maya refined navigation paths that could exploit weaknesses in the Thrin defenses. One day, the Horizon crew received a signal from the Thrin that was different from all previous messages. It was longer, more structured, and seemed to carry a sense of calculation. Hannah translated as best she could, "They are evaluating us. They are acknowledging our intelligence. They are not yet attacking, but they are cautious. Every move we make will influence their judgment." Captain Grant looked at her team. This is our chance. They are watching and judging. We must continue to show creativity, intelligence, and caution. One wrong move could provoke them, but the right move could prove that humans are capable and resilient. The crew worked tirelessly day and night. Alan and Hannah studied every pulse in the Thrin signal. Samuel and Ethan refined the interference devices, making them more precise. Aaron and Maya practiced maneuvers repeatedly, ready for any sudden change. The Horizon had become more than a ship. It was a test of human ingenuity and courage. Then, a critical breakthrough came. Alan discovered that the original signal they had received contained hidden sequences, weak points that the Thrin seemed to consider inviolable. If we use these points, he explained to Captain Grant, we can send signals that they cannot ignore. They will be forced to consider us more carefully. And Captain Grant nodded. Then we act. Carefully, but decisively. We have come too far to retreat now. The Horizon moved closer to the Thrin vessel, using the knowledge of weak points and timing gaps. The interference devices disrupted drone coordination, and calculated signals were sent to show intelligence and restraint. The Thrin responded, sending new sequences that suggested awareness, curiosity, and caution. Humanity was proving itself, and the aliens were taking notice. The crew realized that they were not just surviving, they were influencing the Thrin. Their creativity, intelligence, and courage were reshaping the way the aliens perceived humans. They were small, yes, but unpredictable. They were clever, adaptable, and brave. And in this vast, cold universe, those qualities mattered more than raw power. Days turned into weeks. The Horizon crew continued their careful operations, learning, adapting, and testing. The Thrin's responses became more measured, more cautious. They were observing, yes, but they were also learning. Humanity had survived the first tests, and now they were beginning to show that humans were not simple creatures to be dismissed or destroyed. Alan looked at the stars from the observation deck, thinking about how far they had come. They had been warned, yes, but they had acted. They had faced an intelligence far beyond their own, and yet they had survived. And the most important lesson was clear. Humans were unpredictable, creative, and courageous. That was their strength, and it was what might keep them alive in the vast, unknown universe. Captain Grant gathered the crew one evening. "We have done more than survive," she said. "We have shown that humanity can think, adapt, and act under pressure. We have proven that even a small species can face the unknown with courage. The test is not over, but we are stronger than we realized." The crew felt a quiet pride. They had faced an advanced alien intelligence, learned their weaknesses, and demonstrated human ingenuity. They had been warned, yes, but they had responded. And in the endless darkness beyond the solar system, that response had made all the difference. The Horizon continued its mission, drifting near the Thrin vessel, always alert, always careful, but no longer merely afraid. Humanity had begun to fight, not with weapons alone, but with creativity, intelligence, and courage. And in the vast expanse of space, that might be enough to survive. The Horizon continued to drift near the Thrin vessel, moving cautiously, but with purpose. Captain Lisa Grant knew that the next step was critical. Humanity had survived the tests, learned the patterns of the Thrin drones, and shown intelligence and courage. Now, they had to take the final step, prove that humans could not only survive, but could also adapt and act with skill. Alan Porter and Hannah Blake studied the latest signals from the Thrin. There was a subtle shift in the patterns. The aliens were still cautious, but their responses now contained sequences that suggested recognition. They were acknowledging the humans' intelligence. "They are thinking about us differently," Hannah said. "We have made progress." "But we cannot stop now. Every move matters." and Samuel Turner worked on the interference devices. If we synchronize these with the weak points we found in their network, we can disrupt their drones for longer periods. That will give us a chance to get close to their main vessels safely. Aaron White and Maya Collins ran simulations of the maneuvers. Every approach had to be precise. They used gravitational slingshots around moons and asteroids to gain speed and confuse the drones. Their goal was not to attack, but to show that humans could operate with intelligence, skill, and courage. Captain Grant gathered the crew in the control room. "We are on the edge of something extraordinary," she said. "They are watching. We have shown that we are clever and adaptable. Now we have a chance to prove that humans are capable of more than just following instructions. We must act carefully, and we must act decisively." The Horizon moved closer to the Thryn vessel, following a carefully planned path. The interference devices disrupted the drones, creating small gaps in their movements. Aaron piloted the ship with precision, weaving through the gaps with speed and skill. Maya calculated the path so they could approach the Thryn vessel without triggering defensive energy pulses. Alan and Hannah monitored the communication channels. They sent signals through the weak points they had discovered, sequences designed to show reasoning and intelligence. The signals were slow and deliberate, showing thought and understanding rather than aggression. The Thryn drones reacted. Some hesitated, confused by the unpredictable movements and calculated signals. Others adjusted, but the humans had anticipated their patterns. The Horizon continued to advance, moving closer to the alien vessel with every careful maneuver. Samuel activated a final set of interference pulses. The drones faltered, their coordination temporarily disrupted. The Horizon slipped past them, approaching the main vessel itself. For the first time, humans were at the threshold of the Thryn's core, observing and learning from the inside. Alan and Hannah noticed changes in the Thryn signals. There was recognition, perhaps even respect. The aliens were no longer simply defensive. They were observing humans with genuine curiosity. Every calculation, every maneuver, every signal sent by the Horizon had an effect. Humanity had proven that they were clever, adaptable, and capable of thought beyond instinct. Captain Grant spoke to the crew. "This is our moment. We have shown that humans can act with skill, intelligence, and courage. They are observing us differently now. We continue carefully, but we have made our mark." The Horizon moved along the surface of the Thryn vessel, studying energy flows, drones, and signals. Alan and Hannah deciphered more of the sequences. They realized that the Thryn were testing humans for qualities beyond survival, qualities of reasoning, strategy, and adaptability. Samuel and Ethan worked to maintain the interference pulses, keeping the drones distracted and preventing defensive measures from activating. Aaron and Maya piloted the Horizon with flawless timing, weaving through the gaps in the energy shields. Every maneuver, every adjustment, every decision was critical. The crew understood that this was more than a mission. It was a demonstration of what humanity could do when faced with overwhelming intelligence. They were small, yes, but their creativity and courage gave them a chance. Then, a major breakthrough came. Alan noticed a sequence in the Thryn signals that seemed different from all the others. It was not a warning or threat, it was recognition. The aliens were acknowledging the human success, signaling that they had passed the test of observation. "They are communicating respect," Alan said, his voice trembling. "They are no longer treating us as a threat. They are acknowledging our intelligence." Captain Grant allowed herself a small smile. "We have done it," she said quietly. "We have shown them who we are. Not just survivors, but thinkers, problem solvers, and beings capable of courage and creativity. This is the first step toward understanding." The Thryn responded with more signals. This time, the sequences suggested communication rather than warning. Alan and Hannah translated them carefully. The message was clear. Humans had proven themselves. They were clever, unpredictable, and resilient. The Thryn would not attack, at least not for now. The crew of the Horizon felt a mixture of relief and pride. They had faced an alien intelligence far beyond their comprehension, navigated its defenses, and proven that humans could survive and adapt. They had been warned, they had acted, and now they were recognized. On Earth, the news spread slowly but surely. Governments and scientists realized that humanity had survived first contact with a far superior intelligence. People celebrated, but they also reflected on the lessons learned. Humanity had been warned, but their courage and intelligence had made the difference. Captain Grant convened the crew one final time near the observation deck. "We have reached a turning point," she said. "We have proven that humans can face the unknown with intelligence, courage, and adaptability. This is only the beginning. The universe is vast, full of intelligence and unknown dangers, but humanity has shown that we can endure and grow." Alan looked at the distant stars, thinking about the journey. They had been warned and ignored the signal. They had faced an intelligence far stronger than themselves and survived. And yet, the most important realization was that humanity's strength was not in technology alone. It was in curiosity, courage, and the ability to think creatively when faced with danger. The Horizon continued its mission, moving carefully, but with purpose. The Thryn had retreated slightly, observing but no longer threatening. Humanity had shown that they could survive, adapt, and even influence an advanced alien intelligence. The test had been passed, but the universe would continue to challenge them. Alan spoke quietly to Hannah as they monitored signals. "We have been lucky, yes, but luck alone would not have been enough. Our success came from thinking, adapting, and daring to act when necessary. Humans have a resilience that even advanced intelligence must respect." Hannah nodded. "It's not just us on the Horizon. It's humanity. Every mind, every decision, every act of courage contributed. This is the proof that humans can endure in the unknown." The crew reflected on the journey. Aaron and Maya practiced maneuvers, refining their skills for future encounters. Samuel and Ethan maintained the interference systems, preparing for any new challenges. Alan and Hannah continued to study the Thryn signals, now with growing confidence that communication was possible. Captain Grant watched the stars from the observation deck. "We have survived, yes. But more importantly, we have learned. We have shown that humans are clever, adaptable, and brave. We will face whatever comes next with knowledge, skill, and courage." The Horizon moved away from the Thryn vessel slowly, maintaining observation. The crew knew that this was not the end, but a new beginning. Humanity had survived first contact, proved intelligence and ingenuity, and earned a measure of recognition from an alien intelligence far beyond their own. Alan reflected on the journey one last time. They had been warned not to respond. They had done so anyway. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and overwhelming intelligence. And yet, humanity had endured. Curiosity, courage, and ingenuity had carried them through, showing that even in the vastness of space, humans were capable of survival, adaptation, and growth. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a vast universe of unknowns. But humanity had taken the first step. They had been warned, they had responded, and they had survived. And now they were ready to face the cosmos on their own terms, knowing that their strength was not just in their ships or their technology, but in their minds, hearts, and the courage to act in the face of the unknown. Captain Grant spoke to the crew one final time. "We have learned, we have endured, and we have proven ourselves. The universe is vast, but so are we. This is only the beginning, but it is a beginning we can be proud of." The crew stood together, looking at the distant stars. Humanity had reached beyond its own world, faced an intelligence far beyond their understanding, and survived. They had been warned, they had responded, and they had proven that humans could endure and thrive, even in the face of the unknown. And in the quiet hum of the horizon, the crew knew that the universe had taken notice. Humanity had made its mark, and the future was theirs to face. They had been warned, they had acted, and against all odds, they had survived. And that survival was not just physical. It was a testament to what it meant to be human, curious, courageous, and endlessly resourceful. The horizon continued its journey through space, a small beacon of humanity's courage and intelligence. The Thrinn watched, curious and cautious, and the universe seemed just a little smaller, just a little more understandable, because humans had dared to act, to think, and to survive.